Jewish.
Who's the other people?
You even said it like 20.
Who's the other people?
The 20. You even said something like 20. I think I heard also.
A fifth of the population of Israel. Okay, now what?
Yes, exactly. So.
Okay, amazing. Do you know any other demographic out there?
That's a huge number. This is by no means an ethno
state. Which is something they regret till now.
This is by no means an ethno state. Bro, they regret it.
Who is the Barbie one here?
So, Amar. Yeah. So, Amar, where are you from?
Serbian to me because she's the.
I'm from India.
You're from India? Oh, okay. And are you a believer?
Yeah, I am a believer. I believe there is God, there is Allah who has created this world.
So you believe in Allah, right?
Do you believe in gold? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I'm Muslim.
Yeah. What do you think about the gold standard these days and bonds? What do you think about the bond market?
Can please speak one guy only? So it's quite a little hard for me to understand.
To the voters of the 16th.
Why are you laughing?
To the voters of the 16th district. Without radical
Islam, you can ask me.
Yeah, I just don't want you to be bamboozled up here, you know?
Hello?
Caramel corn circus, you know what I mean?
What bamboozled about what? We're having a conversation, honey. Sorry for not making fun of his eyes.
I just don't want you to be bullying someone who isn't understanding the words coming out of your mouth, you know?
Yeah, just like you were for making fun of his eyes, right? That's not bullying.
I didn't make fun of anyone's eyes.
Yeah, you did. We all heard you.
All you guys are dance here?
How did I don't understand.
We're in a relationship, and he likes to call me a bully, and I like to call him a bully. Get to know honey. You'll call him the same thing too.
But we know who the real bully is in our relationship, though, don't we, Barbie?
Yeah,
Can I talk to him?
Yeah.
I'm your wife.
Well, you're subservient to me, right?
No, it's your wife.
I thought you just liked to call me bully because of how much you.
No, your wife's the bully. She's in our way. She needs to get the fuck out of our way so we can finally get married, honey.
I
get rid of them kids too.
I asked her.
You get rid of your kids too so that we can start our own family. Fuck that shit.
To the voters of the 16th district.
Okay. All right. Well, let me talk to God about that. See what we can do.
Go for it, and I'll talk to the devil about it.
Because he's good at taking away families from people.
Yeah. The devil brings them together, so.
Right. Are you saying that you signed a contract with this Lucifer character? Is that what you're saying, Brian?
Are you saying you pray to God every night, Honey Badger?
Of course. Yeah, who doesn't?
I don't. I pray to Lucifer.
Well, that's why you need to kind of step it up a little bit and get on page.
No, that's your job.
This is why Enigma holds these rooms. You know that, right?
We hold these rooms so that we can entertain you. We know how you are. We know how you get bored when there's not theists on here for you to bully. So we're here. Go ahead, do your thing.
Okay. Well, Shepwrecked is here, and he's a theist. Did you want to talk with him?
No, it's your show. You're powerful. You're the bully here, right? You just admitted it.
Yeah. Well, for you and me, between us, yeah.
No, get him up here. Come do your thing. Do your Honey Badger thing that you do on Clubhouse. Come amaze it.
Come what? Amazing?
Yeah, come on amazement.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, let's see. Dude, I'm all out of ideas. You want to help me?
Honey, I'm not going to fuck you. Shipwreck, would you like to come up here? You can come up here if you'd like.
Alright, sorry. Heading into AAU basketball. I was just hanging out with y'all and listening to the fun banter.
Oh, you're cool.
Your kids can't hear us, can they?
No, whenever I'm in here, it's in my ear, so I don't know.
I was going to apologize to him if you needed me to.
No, that's right. You're good.
So now what, Barbie? Barbie, go ahead. This is your show. You said it's your room. You're in.
No, you said that you are the bully. You are powerful. Yeah. And I'd like to apologize to Shipwreck because, yeah, we've got this nasty bully up here. But go ahead, honey. It's your show. Go ahead. What, do you want the green bean, honey? Do you need the green bean?
Enigma, is this my show? Do you agree with Barbie?
Without radical and substantial spending changes.
No, I don't.
Why do you need other people? Why do you need everybody in this? Why can't it just be me? Why do you gotta add people?
Hi,
You did that last time when T was on
excuse
your
me,
own.
Barbie.
You hear this, T? You
No,
hear
be
them?
respectful of Enigma. That's all, Barbie.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
Barbie.
but you want to bring people in the argument, honey. Keep people out of it. Just fucking talk to me.
Well, I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Excuse
Well, too
me.
bad. Do you want the green bean? Would that make you feel better, honey? Because we know how you pout when you don't get your way. Yeah, you want it? Here you go. Here you go. Here, baby. There you go. Did you like that? That make you feel...
All right. Does anyone have anything they wanted to share or ask me
Yeah,
while I'm up here?
I'd like to get put in the queue, Dr. Honey. This is your friend Comedy.
Great. Well, welcome to my show. Thanks, Mr. Comedy. I appreciate it very much.
Well, I would like to just read a snippet from what the Jews consider one of the holiest books in the Jewish faith, the Zohar. This is what it says. We have learned in the mystery of our Mishnah why it is written, and they knew that they were naked. Adam and Eve knew the naked truth. The radiant garment woven from their days had faded away. Not one single day was left to wear, as it is written, your eyes saw my unformed limbs. In your book, they were all recorded. The days that were fashioned, not one of them was left. Exactly! Not one of those fashioned days was left to be worn, and so it remained until Adam made the effort to turn back to God and mend his ways. The blessed Holy One accepted him and made him different garments, but not from his days, as it is written, Yahweh, Elohim, made garments of skin for Adam and his wife, and he clothed them. Come and see. Abraham, who was pure, what is written of him? He came into days. When he left this world, he entered into his very own days and put them on to wear. Nothing was missing from the radiant garment. He came into days. But what is written of Job? He said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. No garment was left for him to wear. That's just a brief reading from the Zohar. I hope you enjoyed, and I have thoroughly and completely proven to you that God exists. Thank you all very little. Don't call us, we'll call you.
How does it prove God exists?
Oh, you didn't hear me just read from this thing called a book? You don't like books, do you? You don't read books, do you? Oh, well, I proved to you that God exists by reading to you a book, but apparently you don't have ears, you just ask questions. But there's a lot of people on this planet, I call them the people who ask questions. It's like a whole new category of humans once you realize the secret that there's just these people on the planet called askers, and they're not believers, they have no faith, all they do is ask questions all the time because they're too stupid to state anything intelligent, so they just ask questions, and that's okay with me. I like people who ask questions. What about you, Dr. Honey? Did you enjoy the reading?
I did. I really appreciate it. I thought that was very insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope I have...
Over the Zionist lobby in Palestine at the time. What would your approach be to the majority Arab demographic in the region? But you don't understand that I don't control myself right now. I thought you said you're a Zionist.
Why is Cynic always bringing up the demographics?
Because that's literally the crux of the issue.
It's not the crux of the issue. War and the law is the crux of the issue, you propagandist moron.
You're a retard. Which is, by the way, this is Netanyahu. Bibi is the one who classified the demographic threat to be the main threat of Israel, of the existence of the Jewish state. Y'all don't know shit, do you?
No, of course he says that, because at the current moment, the neighbor.
No, this has nothing to do with war.
Wipe Israel off the map. So how can it not be on the top of their list? It's fucking survival.
All right, so yeah, what does cynic mean when he says demographic, so that you're on the same page?
Demographic means the population and the percentages of the population.
Okay.
That's dumb.
Okay. But you said something about the neighbors of Israel's neighbors.
Exactly. Right now, Israel's neighbor and Fatima's having so much fun muting me. Fucking. What I said was just the truth. That at the moment, they have fucking neighbors to the north, to the fucking east, and to the south. And so that's why they have the IDF, and they have that is not
Nathan, this Galaxy guy is at $2.
Since I was rudely fucking interrupted and Knowledge asked me what's going on, Knowledge, you initially said it was a hypothetical. Sasha kept saying you to interrupt you.
My motherfucking name.
They didn't have the help of the United States.
Check it out yet.
If they didn't have these, everybody knows how powerful the Israeli lobby is in the U.S. If they didn't have the
Damn, triple kick, double kick.
This is like amazing. Everybody knows Knowledge does that. Nobody takes it as an affirming answer.
Part of this room, I do it all the time. When you interrupt me, I say yeah, all that.
And he said, "Are you saying that Andrew kicked you?" And you went, "Yeah."
I said yeah, all that, because I was in the middle of talking. So maybe that's what happened. Anyways, for the record, Andrew, I even told Andrew this when he was on the stage. I said, I've never been kicked by you, for the record. But if we made an experiment, we've been doing an experiment 10 times. And a majority of those 10 times, people will get kicked from the room from misgendering. And I think I said a different term to Sasha. It was like misgenderment or something like that. And then Sasha was like,
You said genderism.
Yeah, genderism.
And Sasha was like, what do you mean by genderism? Which is, hold on, Andrew, earlier conversation, the what do you mean conversation. That's number one.
It's like really interesting. Like people have the strategy when you call them out as like, hey, you said this, and then they deny it because they're like liars or have goldfish memory. And then what they do is they just recount every other detail of the conversation as if that contradicted them having said the other thing. Like,
both are doing the exact thing right now.
I don't know what you're talking about, Sasha. I have a 141 IQ and an identical. So I'm
move you down, bro.
I remember saying
I'm sorry. Listen.
Knowledge agreed with me.
I don't give a fuck. Why the fuck you keep saying that? Why would you keep bringing up saying Knowledge ain't gonna protect you, bro?
I mean, I would hope that the person that created this room and actually owns this room, but I guess you want to jump.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm saying that again, bro.
What's this retard's name? The one with the like samurai PFP? Because it just shows up as black.
That's Rich. The artist formerly known as Rich. But what was happening is you guys were literally both trying to make a point. You guys were both so busy trying to make a point, you weren't like listening to each other or really hearing what the other had to say. So therefore, you guys
I guess that's a good
talking
point. If
at
people
each
just
other.
really listen to each other.
No, like you weren't listening.
Maybe you could end world hunger too and have eternal peace. Let's listen to each other.
You were so busy trying to make a point, you couldn't even stop interrupting him every 30 seconds.
We have two.
And he was doing the same to you.
False statement not to some shit. Like,
Yeah.
you're looking for
Hang
false
on,
statements.
you're upset about?
And you're
The point
All right, how about
that
this?
you guys were all typing saying the same thing and talking past each other.
Andrew, did you take the challenge?
You can do that. Well, I don't think there was going to and try to misgender people. I don't think. I don't think so.
Andrew, I think you take the challenge.
That's actually not the case. Because you have the same motion prior to that.
Why are you defending
The Holocaust and World War II only accelerated. That's why it happened in 3 years.
Okay,
Exactly 3 years after World War II, it accelerated it. That's it. That's all it did.
What accelerated what exactly?
You said that by 1917 they were already drafting plans of giving
So
Israel.
yeah, I'm just saying this notion of establishing a Jewish homeland, which is translated by the Zionist state,
World War II only
wasn't a
accelerated.
result of the Holocaust, actually.
Yeah, the Holocaust only accelerated those plans.
Accelerated
Yeah,
those
Zionists
plans.
started earlier than that, and also
Made them come to
I
fruition.
understand. I just wanted to give him like a
No,
very
why do you
quick
do
reference
that?
to good
Where's the
research so I
Daniel?
could disprove the notion, Juho. I'm just
Where's
saying
Daniel,
this
bro?
notion that the Jewish state or Israel was established as a response to the existential threat that took place by the Zionists called the Holocaust.
There's a million reasons.
No. See, no. You don't know a million
There's tons
reasons.
of political
You don't know a million reasons.
reasons. Tons of political
Okay, CM, no problem. I mean, I don't even want to go into the
There is
Holocaust
no
right
one
now.
answer.
See,
One answer.
Shut up, man. Let me ask you a question. Okay, so the land prior to the
Where the fuck
establishment
is Daniel,
of the Jewish
bro?
state, Daniel went to get fucked.
No.
Beyond my understanding.
Yeah,
It was nice to chat with you, everybody. I'm gonna go to sleep. You have a good night, Shlomi. Laila Tov. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
sleep well.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Baby, good night.
Good night.
Laila Tov.
Harry Balzac.
Chicken. Spicy chicken, yeah, spicy as hell. Ooh, mama, see tonight you're ringing the bell.
That sounds nice.
Here is another moral police.
Yeah.
The one that's supporting all the terrorists.
Well, I was using David's catchphrase.
No, I was gonna say, like, for the record, I've never seen Harry's Balzac, so like, I have no idea. For the record.
By the way, I do not support the terrorists, and I think David could back me up on that. We have Julian and David backing each other up. This is a great Friday.
I would hope you would not support any
Julian, you
terrorists.
are the terrorist, Julian.
Yeah, it's like, when America is like, yeah, what if you look around, it's like, oh, maybe I'm the terrorist.
That would make a good sitcom. Oh yeah, very good.
And Julian, to call you out though, but like, with all due respect, Julian, Harry, like, this guy is like pro Luigi. No,
I know he is. Trust me. I see his PTRs all the time.
yeah, dude, like, how fucking pro Luigi?
Julian is he's a libtard.
He's a fucking murderer.
Guy's recording your guys' room, man. I'm putting it in another room, just an FYI.
He can record. Edmund can record. It's fine. Let him record. He has one viewer on his YouTube videos.
all the time. If you check each country in terms of the increases in drugs coming into Saudi, where this waving ain't no glad.
No.
No, what you're thinking about like some things like a full identical. And if I kept saying, what I'm saying is like when you say, for example, either the ears is gonna be one of predication or one of like identity. But if it's one of like predication, like the one you just gave now, you're saying is whatever in the case is gonna be identical to the first term is gonna be such that it's gonna have that predicate.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to say that if you're putting it that way.
Right. But that's just going to be, again, a reduction to the law of identity. But I'm saying that's going to be an axiom of logic. But the point is, like, why think that the Peano axioms are reducible to the laws of logic, unless you think logicism is true, which is just a thesis that, like, the Peano axioms are reducible to the axioms of logic, which is like a heavily contested theory. Majority of people thinking that is false in contemporary philosophy. Especially since like Russell's paradox, which shows that basic law 5 is false.
Yeah, so I mean, from my notion is like not just that everything reduces to logic. I think that you can have multiple different logical systems that are axiomatic systems. Like I don't think there's pair-consistent logics, there's relevance logics, and these are different logics that are different axiomatic systems, and different things follow from them. So obviously I don't think, and I think those are analytic truths because they follow from these axioms, but clearly I don't think it just follows from a single logic theory because I just think there are multiple different logic theories.
No, but it doesn't matter if there's like a million logic, it can be like a pluralist. The point is, it's supposed to reduce to at least one of them. But like, which logic system do you think the Peano axioms reduce? And what's the proof of it?
I don't think it reduces to a logic system. I think you just have a system of axioms.
And how is it analytical?
It reduces to stipulations, Venus. It doesn't reduce to logic.
I don't know what you mean by like stipulations. Unless you think there's like analyticity is just like some kind of like a conventions. But that's not like how math works. Because if that's the case, I can make anything a theorem. There would be like no discoveries. If I want something to be true, I'll just like stipulate it, and it will be like analytical.
You can stipulate anything you want. You can stipulate that what I mean by 1 and what I mean by 1 is that equals 3, and you can just stipulate that.
You're missing the point. The point is like there's like interesting debates in mathematics whether something is a theorem or not. If it was like a mere stipulation, somebody could solve that debate by just stipulating that it is a theorem. But that's not the case. The point is, we're taking some things to be like axioms of math, not through some kind of like arbitrary stipulations. And then we're checking that there be like some interesting inferences from those steps. We can't just like stipulate whatever to be an inference. And then we're asking, is this in fact an inference or not? And those are like the interesting discussions that we're having. The point
do you agree that chess and checkers are different games and they have different rules?
Yeah, but those are not true that though.
You don't think it's true that there are different ways in which checkmate works in these different games? I think they're analytically true, and they are true that.
The what is?
That if you have 2 rooks at the end of the board and the king at the final rank, that they're in checkmate, like it's like true and it's analytically true.
Yeah, if you have like stipulated a range of definitions, yeah, but I'm saying that's like the difference between here and mathematics.
I'm just saying any formal system, such as chess or checkers or whatever, you start with a bunch of rules that you're saying, here's what it means to be a piece, here's what it means to be a space on the board, here's what the rules are, and then things follow from those rules.
Yeah, I'm saying, but those are just instances of the law of identity, or if you're saying, here's what this is, here's what that is, here's what this is, those are just like stipulating definitions, or just instances of the law of identity. I'm saying that's not what like the Peano axioms are.
There are all sorts of things in math where, like, if you agree with the parallel postulate, this follows from math. If you don't agree with the parallel postulate, this follows. If you agree with the axiom of choice, this follows. If you don't agree with the axiom of choice, this follows. And they're just choosing axioms, and they're saying the choice of axioms.
No, there's like a distinction between those two. The examples you gave in the chess, you're just stipulating instances of the law of identity. You're just saying X is Y, Z is N, and so on. I'm saying if you do that, then it's reducible to analyticity because the very thing you stipulated are just instances of the law of identity. If you just say X is Y, A is B, C is D, all of that is reducible to logic. All of those are reducible. Those are like just instances of the law of identity.
Just because
it's not just like universal instantiations.
Just because I
but like I'm saying, the mathematical axioms are the instantiations of the law of identity.
I can believe in the law of identity and then not believe in things like the material conditional and all sorts of other properties of fucking logic. I can just say things are other things, and that's all I need.
No, but you're missing.
I don't need to absorb all of logic to just say the law of identity that things are identical to other things.
No, but you're missing my point. You're missing my point. The point is like what you stipulated is reducible to something that's like uncontroversially a part of classical logic's extension, first order logic. That's why people who like doing like reductions to mathematics to like second order logic, like Frege did, in which like the extension of like identity in first order logic was like uncontroversially included as a system, thought that like mathematics were just like analytical, which proved to be wrong because basic law 5 was just like false, proven by like Russell's paradox. I was saying the example you gave in
why does Russell's paradox prove that these aren't analytic?
Oh, because Russell's paradox. Well, you can go through like I just have to like look it up. Like just like there was like something uninteresting, but like basic like Frege had like something called like a basic law 5, which was proven to be false given like Russell's paradox, which was like the same reason why like Cantor's like naive set theory was like proved to be problematic. I just like forgot like the various steps. It's like something very trivial and very simple. I just like can't capture it now. But the point that I'm making is the Peano axioms are not akin to like just defining chess rules in terms of like identities, which are going to be like instances of the law of identity.
Just because the barber who only cuts the hair of barbers that don't cut other people's hair, just because like there's like that doesn't work or whatever, just because there's like a bit of a like paradox there, doesn't mean that like the way things like the way chess works or the way like math works isn't just you take a system of rules and see what follows from them.
No, that's not the point. The point is there was something called basic law 5, which you could actually reduce the Peano axioms to. The range of like assumptions that Frege worked, including basic law 5, it's just that like basic law 5 is false because of like Russell's paradox. That's the point that I'm making. This is like something uncontroversial and like very popularly known. I just forgot like the exact like steps to the proof. You can like look it up. Just look at like the SAP and like Russell's paradox or something. It should be like a huge section on like Frege's basic law 5. I'm just saying like the stipulating identities is not what mathematics is. Like Peano axioms are not just like stipulations of like identities. The way you get 2 + 2 = 4 is just because of like some stipulations, the way like you're stipulating like what a rookie is and like what the horse is in terms of like chess.
Well, it's rules. It's not just identity.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The point that I'm making is like,
right?
Sam just think it's like uncontroversial that like arithmetic is like analytical, and I'm saying like that's like a.
Oh, do you agree that arithmetic is analytic?
I do, but I mean, yeah, Venus is right that there's like debate.
So like whether or not if I see in the world like whether I have 1 quarter and 1 quarter, and that makes 2 quarters, whatever. That's like a synthetic claim about.
Oh my god, that's like fucking stupid.
But if I'm talking about just math itself, like was 1 + 1 2, it seems like obviously analytic.
No, it's not, because look, the arithmetic is not the most fundamental thing. You almost seem to think like people just like define number one and they just get like all of arithmetic. It's not like how math works. Like all of arithmetic is supposed to be like derived from the Peano axioms. And Peano axioms can be reduced to like logic. And then the question is like, how do we think about that conclusion there? Given that like people used to think it's like obvious that it was like reducible. And then Frege said, look, here is the reduction. And he gave like basic law 5. And that failed. And then like Russell tried to fix that with like type theory, and that failed. And then people just realized, oh, we can't do that unless we just like arbitrarily define something, but that's not going to be analytic as like the ZFC like set theory is trying to do. And then people are saying, oh, what about like Hume's principle? Oh, well, I think that's analytic the same way like law of identity is. And there's like a huge debate of how to think about this thing. And then you just like come who don't even know shit about this debate, or just think, oh, I just think it's like obvious. It's just like a problem of like a kind of like arrogance. You don't even know like the beginning of this like entire discussion. And you think it's just like a hand wavy way to say it's like, oh, analytic. That's the issue that I'm taking with this. And like Sully probably has like a theory of this, but at least like Sully has like understood the debate, read through the debate, and then like taken a position. You know, like fuck all about this entire debate, and you think it's like something as easy as just to like say, oh, it's like the chess game.
There is like, so I do think there's going to be a difference between like analytic and like logical tautology. You know, like I think there are some analytic truths that are not like merely the same as a logical tautology. So, you know, I mean, even something like a bachelor's and unmarried man, something like that, right? That's like analytically true or something. Like, if you want to say it's an instance of the law of identity, I don't think that's all it is. I mean, there's also like there's analytically.
The things that are true, once you know what the terms are and what the rules of the game are, you don't need to learn anything else. There's other things where you have to check the world. So I don't know how many atoms are in my bedroom. I have to check. Whereas I can just know by knowing what 1 and 1 is and what plus is, that means 2. I don't need to check the world to find anything out. I can just know it's true by what the terms mean. And the usual definition between truth about what terms mean versus truths about the world, these are like usual distinctions between analytic and synthetic truths. And I think it's just, I think math is analytic because once you know what the terms mean, you can just see what follows from it. You don't need to check the world. Mathematicians don't need to like look at physics to find out what mathematical truths are true. They can just see what their axioms are and then see what follows from them. See what the rules that they're allowed to use for derivations are, and then see what follows. They don't need to check the world. That's why they're analytic, and that's the.
It's like somebody who like read the first paragraph on the Wikipedia of like analyticity.
There's a sort of like there is some nuance to this, right? Like, okay, it's this whole question of like, well, are the axioms that we're starting with are those true or not? You know,
no.
Well, there's like I'm just saying that's like a question. Like the thing that Venus mentioned about like Frege having an axiom that was then shown to be problematic. But just because you're treating something as an axiom to do derivations doesn't mean that it is true. You know, I don't think you do all kinds of stuff. But then what you can do is you can say like say something like Euclidean geometry, right? As an example, you know, it has like the parallel lines postulate, you know.
Yeah.
And then other geometries don't have that.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But basically, if the like basic postulates of Euclidean geometry are taken to inform like the semantics, so basically like when I say, you know, in Euclidean geometry, that can be like explicit or implicit, you know, parallel lines never intersect, right? That is analytically true. Like if the semantics for parallel lines is taken from those Euclidean postulates, basically, right? Whether it's actually the case that Euclidean geometry properly like models the world, or like whether it even makes sense to ask if it's quote unquote true. Like basically, like a mathematical system like that is not like any more or less true just based on the fact that it doesn't like model physical space, or something like that. So like that's enough.
Of course. When you're asking whether you're saying if you're saying the world can be modeled with math, that's a synthetic claim. If you're just saying here's what the math is and here's the relationship between the parts of the math theory, that's analytic. And so yes, whether the parallel postulate, you can have geometry that's Euclidean, you can have geometry that's not Euclidean. Those are all just things that are derivations from the axioms and your rules of inference. Now, if the world is the world like that, that's a synthetic claim. You have to find out. You have to check.
No, you're missing the point. Look, I can't just like stipulate, for example, all Jews are ginger, and then I just say, well, Sam is a Jew, therefore Sam is like a ginger. The point is like that axiom can be wrong, and if that axiom is not like reducible to like the axioms of logic, the way that like Peano axioms were shown that they can't be reduced to like the axioms of logic, the Peano axioms might just be like wrong because of like some factor of the world. They're not like guaranteed to be true, even like we take them to be like axioms.
No, man.
So like
It's retarded.
Wait, how is that retarded?
If you're I think that there's probably a theoretical logic too. You could question which logic.
If you're stipulating there's these things that have the property of Jew and redhead, and you're saying those things co-occur, yeah, you can just stipulate there's this object that has the property of redhead and Jew. Now, if you want to find out in the world, are there any things that have the property of being redhead Jew? Yeah, that's a synthetic claim. But all you had when you just are stipulating here's in my mind, hypothetical properties, redheadness and Jewness. That's not true or false. That's just a stipulation.
No, you're missing the point. The point is like the Peano axioms is like the stipulation of like all Jews are like ginger. Like why I think those stipulations are true. We have like a conceptions of the things in the Peano axioms. It's not like we're just like inventing terms and we're saying what I mean with this is like what I mean with this. Are you like familiar with the Peano axioms are, Sam?
Not really.
Yeah, it explains like a good bunch of it.
I think the point is though, Venus, there is going to be like a sort of similar issue when you start talking about like different systems of formal logic, and like, okay, you have all these sort of, well, let's just speak like roughly here, right? Like you have these like axioms of classical logic, let's say, that's, you can get into how that's like not really a precise way of putting it, but anyway, like let's say, you have certain inference rules that are validated under classical logic.
No,
and then they're not validated under another logic. And so, like, the idea is like...
No, I agree. I agree with that. No, I agree with that, but that's not the issue. That I'm saying, like, there is, like, Sam is missing a point. Even if we had, like, a fixed logic in the background, there's, like, nothing controversial. Because I was saying, if the Peano axioms are not reducible to the axioms of, like, second-order logic or, like, higher-order logics, then they're not going to be, like, analytical. It doesn't matter if you say like we're just.
Yeah, I don't think that's
that would
right.
Just be like,
I think I did.
Yeah, well, that would just be like stipulating that like all Jews are like gingers and just saying, I can just derive like, given that Sam is a Jew, is going to be like a ginger, like that's going to be analytic. That would be like confused.
You can't stipulate synthetic claims, obviously.
Well, the point is we don't know whether or not if you can't reduce the Peano axioms to axioms of logic, you then claim them to be like analytical.
Well, that's the thing I disagree with.
The point is like
you're being crazy right now, man. I'm just saying certain systems have rules. They have sort of identities and rules, and that they're not all going to be a specific logical system. You have pair-consistent logic.
Okay, hold on.
Sam, you're missing.
Let me try to. Wait.
You guys are crazy. You guys keep talking over me. Fuck, this is crazy. Stop talking over me. Stop talking over me. I'm saying there are different rules and different systems with different identities, and they don't all go track back to Peano axioms or any sort of particular logical system. The rules of chess and the rules of Monopoly are not going to be the same rules, but there's different things that follow from them. Once you have the game of Monopoly, it follows, like there's lots of things that follow from the rules of Monopoly. And I'm not trying to reduce everything back. All I'm trying to reduce things to is that rules exist and identities exist. That's it. I'm not trying to fucking map it back to some specific logic or some specific fucking Peano axiom.
Well, can I say something about why I disagree about analyticity here? Like, so, like, I don't think the condition for a proposition being analytically true is that it has the form of a logical tautology, right? I think that basically what I think the condition is for something being analytically true is that, this is again putting it roughly, that its truth value, right, can be determined just in virtue of its meaning, right?
Yes.
That's what I mean by analytic, right? And then if something's truth value is underdetermined by its meaning, then it's synthetic.
Agreed.
Now, there are going to be certain things, like I said before, like, okay, just take like a bachelor's and unmarried man, right? If that's analytic, I mean, I can't just start from A equals A and somehow derive that sentence, right? Like, the reason it's analytic is because it's true in virtue of its meaning. It's true in virtue just of, like, you can determine that it's true just in virtue of knowing what it means. And so, like, what Sam, I think, is getting at here is that when you're saying something that's, like, implicitly embedded into a rule system, right? So, like, when I say parallel lines never intersect, the semantics I'm using, so, like, what parallel lines mean there, right, is Euclidean parallel lines, right? And I could be explicit about that, but, like, I'm just telling you that's what I mean when I say, right? Okay, like, if that's what it means, and if that's the proposition being expressed, is that, you know, in Euclidean geometry, parallel lines don't intersect. That's analytically true.
I think when I'm talking past, I think what Sam is trying to say and what you're trying to be saying is like, I'm going to invent a game. I'm just going to define this chess piece to just mean this, and this chess piece just to mean this. Mm-hmm. And then you just kind of like, trivially, by like, you know, the inference rules of like, I don't know, like first order logic or something, derive like a set of like truths which are going to be like analytical. What I'm saying is that's not what's happening in mathematics. We're not just like making up arbitrary rules and getting to like 2 + 2 = 4. Like the mathematical sentences in arithmetic, as well as like in calculus and other like fields of like traditional mathematics. I'm not talking about like exotic mathematics or geometry. It's like what's known as like traditional mathematics. Reduces to what is known as like Peano axioms. But these Peano axioms are not stipulative definitions the way that like Sam is taking these like arbitrary games that he's inventing to be. Like for example, that like 0 is not the successor of any natural number. It's not like some kind of like just something we like stipulate and like make up. That's like a claim. And if you like accept that claim alongside with the rest of the Peano axioms, you can reduce all of traditional mathematics to this. Now, is this supposed to be analytical? Is like what is taken to be like controversial. Now, it is the case that like, yeah, right. Now it is the case that we know what like 0 is, we know what like a successor is, we know what like a natural number is, but there's nothing in that definition that just like from the like the definition that it follows. Now, one way that like in the history of like philosophy of mathematics, we like established that it is analytical was some kind of like reduction to the axioms of like logic. That's like what Frege did, that's like what Russell did. Those projects like failed. There is another project that seemed to be successful that like Boulos did, which is like taking what is known as like Hume's principle, we can actually reduce the Peano axioms to Hume's principle. The problem is Hume's principle analytic? And there's like no reason other than like by merely stipulating it to be that it is going to be analytic. But if you like grant that, then you can like make anything by fiat to be analytic.
Yeah, I get that.
Clearly, we want to have like a stronger notion of analyticity by that. That's the point that I'm making that Sam is not tracking.
Yeah, I get that point. And then, like, I think what Sam is trying to say is something like this: like, when you conditionalize.
I think Sam is saying like we're gonna like in this game.
Just wait a second. When you conditionalize, oh my God, did you just like okay? When you conditionalize on the Peano axioms, which are taken as givens, right? Then these conditional sentences that you write, you know, when you derive something from the Peano axioms, which set up all the rules for how you do these derivations and so on, and then you give a conditional like, if the Peano axioms are true, then such and such is true, right? Like that is going to have like a kind of like logical derivation like you're looking for as well. But I don't know. I basically just think that you don't need to actually reduce something like something doesn't have to have the form of a logical tautology to be an analytic truth.
No, it just has to be the true version of what it means. That's all you need. You don't need. It doesn't have to have a logical structure.
Right, but you get what he's saying is that when you say like basically like when you give the Peano axioms that you're not just like defining like the way he's saying is that you're not just defining zero, right? Like you're making a claim about zero, you know.
I don't think.
Or like when you give the successor function, it's like you're not just like saying something that's analytically true of numbers. You're like presenting a claim about numbers.
I mean, what you can have different numbers, theories of numbers that work differently. Like we know that you can just have the axiom of choice or not the axiom of choice, the parallel oppositor or not. You can have it just here's a system of math. Nothing adds anything. So 1 plus 1 is 1 because nothing ever adds. There's no like you can just have different theories of math. You can just have different systems, and they're not any of them are not wrong. They're just different rules that you can use. And it's fucking weird. It's bizarre to say, oh, I'm telling you something about the number of the number zero. Zero only exists as a sort of like thing that exists within a sort of theoretical system. Like there's not just like a zero that just like different number systems would probably treat zero differently.
Yeah, but it's basically like imagine like if you wanted to treat it like something synthetic, just imagine that like people had a sense of zero, prior to somebody trying to formalize the Peano axioms. Anyway, I don't know. Venus wanted to come back up, but I guess.
I mean, he just can't control himself. He just fucking whenever anyone tries to talk, he just talks over them. He's got no self-control. I don't think it should be too controversial to say that a dog is an animal's analytic, or that it's analytic to say that the bachelor's a married man. And I also don't think it should be controversial to say 1 plus 1 is 2 is analytic, because you don't have to check the world. Mathematicians aren't scientists. They're not looking at the world to find out whether 1 plus 1 is 2. They're seeing if the things follow from their rules they are allowing themselves to have in their identity.
Is this about whether math is analytic or a priori synthetic? Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't know. It seems to me that like what you just said there presumes. And by the way, I don't really have like a horse in the race, but it seems like what you said there sort of presumes that if the truths in question are a priori, then they must be analytic, and that's what the synthetic a priori people are denying.
I think if you're making a synthetic claim, you're making a claim about the world. And a mathematician doesn't have to be making a claim about the world. Like, if they talk about imaginary numbers, they don't have to make a claim that there's a thing in the world like imaginary numbers. There are synthetic identities or whatever, water is H2O or whatever. But that is not the sort of thing, that's the sort of thing you have to check. But the stuff in math is not stuff you have to check before you.
Well, I mean, you're kind of just presuming that a priori knowledge can't get at things in the world. Now, I share that presumption, by the way, but it would be something you'd have to argue for against the, a priori synthetic people, right? I mean, a lot of those people will probably be mathematical Platonists who think that mathematical truths are in the world. They're just things that you discover by a priori intuition, nonetheless.
Well, then how do they make sense of that? You have some math that rests on the axiom of choice and other math that rests not on the axiom of choice. Which one is in the world, does the world have both?
I mean, I assume that there's a sort of few different options that you can go for. One is you can try to justify the claim that one axiomization matches up with the truth better. Another is you could say maybe the truth is just sort of indeterminate in some way. But it's not like I don't really see that as having a lot of bearing. Like they could even say something like, "Look, there are some aspects of mathematics which there isn't like some sort of determinate truth about. Like maybe whether you pick one axiomization over another is going to be arbitrary in some circumstances. That doesn't mean it's all arbitrary, and it's all just a matter of what the truths about your meaning."
By the way, I have a pretty radical view that given that I think concepts are just hypothetical bundles of properties, that you could do like a priori camel biology as long as you just stipulated enough like truths about camels. Like if you like give me like 1 million camel facts that were all part of my camel concept, I could just like do derivations on like, oh well, if they have this property, like you just like could like find out truths about camels if you just like had a deep enough camel concept. Like the thing with math, the reason why you can't do that is like math is hyper precise. It's like it's easy to do derivations, whereas it's like, yeah, I could do a priori camel stuff if I had like a precise enough camel definition with enough properties to it, but like we don't have that complicated of a it's like not feasible to do it. But you could.
I mean, I don't think the controversial part is whether you can set up a system of concepts and derive things from that system of concepts, and do like an a priori, like investigation on what, all of the terms mean and blah, blah, blah. The question is like, the controversial assumption is whether like, a triangle, the properties of a triangle, right, are all deducible just from the meaning of the term triangle, right? The way a competent English speaker would use it. And that's not something, it seems like you're not really presenting an argument against that, right?
If by triangle you mean something where you'd have to check the world to see what triangles are like, then clearly it's synthetic. Like if you're saying like, hey,
yeah, but all the point is it's not necessarily.
People, like if you're saying, oh, all the instances of triangles that people talk about, what are their properties? Because not all triangles are going to be like exactly three-sided, exactly 180 degrees. There's going to be like fuzzy quasi-triangles that exist. And if we're interested in all of the properties of the things that people point to when they say triangle, then sure, that's synthetic. But if you're just saying, exactly 180 degrees, exactly three sides, exactly two-dimensional, then yeah, I think lots of things are just derivable from that.
Yeah, I'm fine that you think that. The question is, like, for the people that don't think that, what's the argument that they should agree with you?
Yeah.
I guess
like you're like heavily confused. Go ahead.
I mean, the argument I would basically give is like, why would you have to check the world to find out these mathematical truths about triangle geometry?
Yeah,
why would you have to do?
What do you mean by check the world?
Like measure.
That was the thing.
Like measure stuff, weigh stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
well, okay, but sorry about that. So much passing by the movement. But anyway, so the question though is whether in check the world you're building in assumptions about it being a posteriori. Okay.
I kind of want to avoid the a priori, a posteriori stuff, just because that's like a whole can of worms.
Yeah, but you can't because you just said now measure. You're like assuming that like it's gonna be like an empirical endeavor. The point is like the majority of philosophers today, like you're holding like an extreme minority position. Majority are like granting there's like a priori synthetic propositions. So you can't check the world without like measures. You can check the world with just like pure a priori reflection.
I mean,
so
there's
people like fucked up by just saying like measure.
I mean, the thing I was explaining to him before was just like, if you think mathematical truths are truths about the world and not just truths about conceptual structures, then you are checking the world, but it's a priori checking the world.
I mean, the point that I made to him, which he had like a hard time understanding at all, was that like, if logicism is
why do you have to say that is a hard time understanding at all? Like, why do you have to do that? Like, literally, what's wrong with your brain that you have to do that? Like, why are you like this? You can just say your views. Like, what is wrong with you, dude?
Yeah, but it was my view that I thought you had like a hard time understanding it.
Just
got to this one.
if you insult me, I'll just move you down. So just don't do
But
that.
But I'm not insulting you though.
Okay, I will be the arbiter whether you're insulting me.
Yeah, but you're just gonna like stack the deck against me, like, like let's see. How's that interesting?
I get to decide what's interesting.
Yeah, but then it's just like mod abusing.
Whatever, dude. I don't think it's hard. You'll notice that Sully and MJ and even Piper and I don't even like each other. But I don't move Piper down constantly. That doesn't happen. Why? Because Piper isn't a person that just randomly insults people for no reason. Sometimes we get mad at each other, but it's not just, we can have a conversation where we just talk about things without insulting each other. We can do that.
I'm not insulting you. I'm just not like walking on like eggshells the way Piper is.
All right, please walk on eggshells because I'm a little baby snowflake that I can only handle being having you walk on eggshells.
If you're like a baby, why even have a conversation?
Then don't have a conversation with me. I'm happy to talk about this with Sully and Piper.
That's fine, but like, don't complain that I think you're like 85 IQ then. Like,
you're literally a cunt. You're like the definition of a cunt. You're like a bully. You're just a bully. You're just like insulting people. You like hurting people's feelings. It's crazy. So, Sully and Piper, are you guys there?
Yeah.
So, like, I think the way the synthetic a priori stuff works is that some of our concepts are, there's no term in philosophy for this, so I'm just going to make one up. There's, like, complete concepts and incomplete concepts. And what a complete concept is like, once I say the tallest baby in America, like, you have everything you need to know about what I'm talking about, you know, or, like, the tallest mountain in the Himalayas. You know exactly everything you need to know what I'm talking about. Whereas if I say, like, that thing in my room, that's like an incomplete concept in the sense that, like, sure, I'm pointing to something, but I'm like leaving open stuff in my concept space to be filled in by checking. So, like, once I go, that thing in the world, I'm pointing to a general object that's near me, it has a vague shape, but then once I like find out that, oh, it's got 4 legs, it's got a back, and people sit on it, I can then fill in my concept. And so those, like, when I fill in those concepts, those are the sort of synthetic a priori stuff where I was talking about that thing the whole time, but I was like, it was an incomplete concept that I was like allowing myself to fill in later. Whereas not all concepts work that way. Sometimes you just have everything you need to know to point at the thing. And I don't know if philosophers talk about this, but this just seems intuitive.
Yeah, I mean, there's a degree to which I think a lot of that just is captured by the synthetic a priori distinction. And then there's like a further question of like, okay, are all are all a priori truths analytic? And that's the thing that we're, I guess, debating.
Yeah, I guess there's like, for me, what I would call the incomplete concepts, there's the a priori component of it, which is the like, hey, what I meant by the thing in my living room, I had some general loose notions of what I'm talking about. Like, I generally meant that, I meant an object, which is near me, which has a certain color and shape, but I didn't know much else about it. And I was allowing myself to fill out my concept more. But I already had analytic in that it had to be an object and it had to be near me. Those were analytically built into it. So, like, maybe with like the water case, like, water has to analytically be like the clear, drinkable stuff, you know? That's because that's what we're trying to point to. But then what it's made out of, we were like leaving that open. You know, we weren't like, and then once we like filled that in, then we're like, oh, okay, now I know more about this thing. But like, there was the a priori part of water, which is that it's like wet and clear and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of that I think is addressed by like stuff about the paradox of analysis, where it's like, if you assume that analytic truths are just, you know, truths that any competent user of the terms would already know prior to any investigation or further investigation, then it seems like, okay, conceptual analysis doesn't tell you anything because you already know everything you need to know before you engage in the conceptual analysis. But the reply that's given to that is, well, it seems perfectly reasonable to think that in many cases, even if we're competent users of a term, we don't know everything about what that concept entails, right? And so by doing further conceptual analysis, we can come to understand more about it, right? So, and I think that's, I'm willing to allow for that. I mean, it seems like there have been many cases in my own, sort of mental life, if you want to put it that way, where I don't know everything about what a concept entails, and then someone shows me, or I do the work myself to figure it out from some sort of conceptual analysis. And I don't have a high view of conceptual analysis, but, I think at least as a reply to the paradox of analysis, that's fine. So.
Yeah. I basically think that just because you don't know everything about what the term means, like what follows from what the mean, like you could have some identity statements and some rules for inference, and that you don't have to know how all of those identities and rules for inference all interact. That can just be like unclear to you. But it doesn't mean like you did need to know what the identities were and what the rules for inference were, because then like what would the derivations even be? Like I can't know what 1 + 1 is 2 is if I don't know what a number is and what plus is. Like, but once you've got that, who knows? There's also facts about addition that I don't know what 703,026 plus some other random number is. Like I'd have to think about it really hard.
Yeah, I mean, and so the further question is, like, when you think about it really hard, are you putting together synthetic truths from some faculty of intuition for mathematics that you have, or are you just deriving things analytically from the meaning of terms?
Radical and substantial spending changes to taxpayers.
I mean, I think I'm deriving stuff, because I think if I wasn't deriving stuff, I would be like doing something. I would like I don't know. I would be measuring the world. I would be looking at the world.
Yeah, but
no, that's fine.
The further question, though, is looking at the world
Hello? Hello? What up, Doc?
Just same old. Getting my affairs in order.
Getting your affairs in order, huh? Isn't everybody doing the same thing?
Well, I got off the phone with the VA today, and I got in touch with my manager, and I was setting up all the paperwork to be sent to me, make sure that when I die, that I'm already preset to be buried in Arlington.
Oh, really? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a Purple Heart recipient, I get the option.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm like, what better company in death than those people?
Yeah, it's a good place to be. If there is some type of second coming, like if your genetics get reanimated by some...
I think they're going to start with the people that knew how to fight.
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful place to wake up, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, no, I was able to get all the paperwork lined up. They're sending me out the package. It'll be here on Monday.
Mm.
But yeah, I sign everything, get it notarized, and then send it back, and then I'm your cousin.
Mm. But you don't know like where on the map you're gonna be placed, do you?
No, because it's based on the time of year that I die. But I will have a reserve spot regardless.
Hmm.
Well, it's either that, there's a local military cemetery around here that they were trying to give me the option to. But I'm like, well, don't I get the option to be buried there because of the Purple Heart? And they're like, yeah, actually you do. I'm like, okay, well, that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
And then they set up all the papers.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited that it's all taken care of, and that like if there's anybody that really cares about me when I die, that they don't have to worry about like trying to figure out how to put me in the ground, and it costs them money.
Yeah.
Because it's not cheap to bury anybody these days. Like if you can do it for $10,000, that's with a cremation.
It's not cheap to get dinner tonight. It's not cheap to get this and get that. It's just the
I
bills
know,
never fucking
end.
end.
A couple months ago, I know.
Never fucking ends. This doesn't work anymore. This is broken. This is leaking. This broke. I need a replacement.
Sounds like me at McDonald's every time I try to get a milkshake.
I'm sorry, but I'm running out of money to continue buying things that keep breaking. I can't afford to keep repairing things. Fuck!
Well, right now, you want to buy some shit? I mean, we can do a deal. I mean, I got like $500 on it. You put $500 on it. We can order a bunch of shit in from China right now, even with the tariffs, and make a killing right now. You know that they're selling off pallets by weight at like 54 cents a pound? Like, so you get a pallet of like microwaves. Like, you're literally, the whole pallet weighs, 1,200 pounds. Well, 1,200 divided by 4 is, $300. So that pallet of microwaves just cost you $300. And you just got, 35 microwaves. Like, the money potential because China's fucking really hurting because of these tariffs. I don't see the news talking a lot about it, but everything that I've been reading, like, they are like 300 million people unemployed right now, and all their minor factories are shutting all down. Like, they're gonna hit a big fucking wall here next, financially and fiscally, like, very shortly. They're already at the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But the opportunities are there because they're not even selling you that microwave for, say, $15. They're selling it to you in weight, and you're probably paying like $2. So if you're paying $4 with the tax, you're still getting a microwave for $4. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there are financial like endeavors to exploit right now.
Jeez, could you imagine putting like 1 million fucking microwaves on a boat at $4 a piece and bringing it all the way across the fucking ocean? It's like the fuel costs alone. It's like it's just I don't even know how they make money on a lot of that shit.
Well, I mean, in 1988, the average worker in China would make approximately $3 to $5 a week if they're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're up to like $11 an hour, even in China. And when we didn't have the tariff thing going on, the factories were able to figure out how to make the margins work. But now that like the tariffs are in there, they can't afford the workers. The factories are fucking shutting down. Like, it's a big clusterfuck of the economical grandeur. It's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Did you see that video of Trump and with his cabinet for the 100-day review?
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch that?
I didn't watch it, but no. What did you learn?
You gotta watch it, man. And even the 100-day speech that he gave with all the CEOs of all the like major corporations that he has coming into America.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have people like Toyota, like, yes, we are gonna spend $150 billion in Arizona to build up this, and 4,000 jobs, to be able to build it, and another 20,000 jobs that'll come online after it's built. Like, dude, he's bringing. He went down the line, and the room had like 40 of the top biggest CEOs in the world in the room in the White House, and like they're literally running down and like, yeah, we're gonna be building this $2.5 million infrastructure over here, and this like $15 billion there, and like, but by the time he got through the room, like, I don't know if I could just say that he just got $1 trillion worth of investments in the first 100 days to come into America over the next year. Like, bro. And then you watch the cabinet thing, and then everybody's like, we found this money, we found this, we're deporting these people, and he goes around the table all the way around. I'm like, everybody's got good fucking news all the way around the fucking table. I'm like, Democrats are never going to get this shit back if they don't, like, step their game up.
Yeah. Hi, David. Good Shabbos.
What's up, Bobadilla?
With all due respect, kick 'em.
Nah, but, like, I'm excited for what the next, little bit of time frame is going to be. He's a good commander-in-chief. I'm glad that he's the commander-in-chief of the military. My nephew, John, he rolls out on Monday to boot camp for the Navy, to be a Navy Corps.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine him having done that underneath Biden's, tutelage.
I think Navy and Air Force is always the way to go. Army, it's too earthy. It's too much real shit.
Beat your face. Yeah.
Yeah. I like sitting in a $1.5 billion plane. That's where I should have ended up instead.
Oh, fuck that. Give me a $50 billion fucking aircraft carrier.
Yeah, that's why I say, Navy, Air Force is the way.
Yeah, I tried to go in the Navy. The only reason I didn't become a Navy corpsman and I became an Army medic was because the Navy would not guarantee me in my contract that I would get a shot at combat medic or corpsman school. So because they wouldn't guarantee in my contract, I wasn't going to go into basic training. When I get out of the fucking basic, they're like, yeah, you're going to be a cook. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Well, especially since I just, I had already been the phlebotomist and ran the blood lab, and I was already an EMT, and I'd already been to RN school. And the idea that they could turn around and make me a fucking cook after all the education I'd given myself, like, I wasn't willing to take that risk. And that's why I walked straight across the hallway and went into the Army recruiter. I'm like, you guarantee me Army combat medic? They were like, yeah. I'm like, cool. Sign me up. I'm like, yeah, come on. Water's fine. But how's things up there in Chirac?
You can't complain. The taxes are paid. The mortgage is paid.
And I'm still going bankrupt.
Still got enough money for dinner, so I can't complain.
Yeah, well, ramen and tuna fish doesn't count as dinner.
No, I'm gonna have a nice dinner. A good Shabbos. My friend is coming over here to help me move a bed, and then we're gonna get dinner.
So what's up? Yeah. I had half my I had red snapper for dinner last night, and I still have half my dinner from last night, so I'll probably eat that up later.
Red snapper. Have you ever caught fish, gutted them, and then cooked them and ate them?
Does a pig fart after a bowl of beans?
That's a yes.
Yes.
I watch a lot of
I'll
videos.
go, like, if you and me and a couple friends, we could get in my boat in the Keys when I lived at Bonefish Colony Towers in Marathon Key. And if it's like, if we leave at, before 6 o'clock, we'll be at the boat at 5:30, ready to roll at 6. Leave at 6, ride out like 4.5 miles to the Gulf Stream. We fish. We'll be back at the dock before lunch with 36 like mahi dolphin, and we'll have all 36 of them filleted up, cut into like 1-pound steaks, and then vacuum sealed, and then thrown into a flash freezer. And and that's before lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm a big fisherman. I love angling. Being an angler. You're not big into fishing, are you?
No, I mean, I watch YouTube videos of people like gutting fish and cooking fish. I'm just like, seems pretty easy, you know? I mean, once you do it enough times, it's just
It depends on the fish and it depends on the severity of the bones. Because like mahi mahi, when I cut down the spine of it, I can use the spine of the fish as a guide and all the little bones that come down in the ribs as a guide to slice the meat off because they're thick enough and I can use it as like a skim coat guide. But on like certain fish like especially like catfish or bass or brim, like they're really, really soft, bony fish, and that's clean. But a lot of bigger fish are a lot easier to clean. And then like a shark's super easy. Because sharks, all you got to do is like the second you catch them out there in the ocean, you slit them from right underneath their chin all the way down to the bottom of their tail on their belly, and then you just pull out all their guts and everything and throw it overboard. Because sharks don't have bladders, and if you don't get their internals out of them, they're going to leak their toxins into their skin and ruin the meat. So if you see somebody like cutting up a shark at the dock, don't get any of that meat because it's probably been several hours since that thing was killed, and it's already ruined its own meat with its own peeing through because the sharks pee through their skin. If you didn't know, they don't have a bladder, so it's stuff like that, man.
You are a wealth of information. You're like a computer. You are like an artificial intelligent algorithm that.
No, I'm definitely artificial. Thank you for calling me intelligent, though.
Oh yeah, I'd want you on my boat.
Oh, if it's anything to do with the water, yeah, you definitely want me on your boat.
I'm gonna go to the kitchen. I'll be right back.
Because well, think about how to tie a clutch over or a hover clutch.
I'll be right back.
I don't know how you say it. I left my home for the army. I left my home for the army. Ole, 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 ole. I left my home for the army. The day I left, my mama cried. She cried so hard, she thought I would surely die. Ole, 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 ole. I made my mom.
I don't have any orange. I have orange juice.
Close enough. Forget my word. I can't believe you laughed at me singing an army cadence.
I was gonna ask you if you knew the cadence.
Yeah, I want you to spell X.
AKSK.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
X.
Like you didn't. You saying like you were being convincing, like you were saying like you were questioning whether that was the answer.
I think it's amazing that people actually